Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Today I'm going to talk about Ryan Lochte. He's an Olympic swimmer, and he's been in the news lately and for all the wrong reasons. This man went on the Today Show on NBC and told Matt Lauer and others that he was robbed at gunpoint by some people posing as police officers. He says that he was with some other U.S. swimmers and they were robbed. It turns out that this man made the whole story up in order to cover up his bad conduct. According to news reports and according to the video evidence that was captured at the gas station where this incident allegedly occurred, this man and those swimmers that were with him were white boy wasted. They were drunk and they were out of order. They destroyed property at that gas station. They urinated on the walls outside of the gas station. And according to one report, they actually got into a physical altercation with one of the security guards. So in order to cover all of this stuff up, they made up a story about being robbed. And they repeatedly, well, at least Ryan Lochte repeatedly told this story. Even under scrutiny, he told this story. And the sad thing is, because we live in a society, in a world really, where white privilege is a reality, people are automatically inclined to believe the tale told by a white man. They're automatically inclined to believe it. And they're automatically inclined to assume the worst when it involves black people and people of color. They're willing to accept the narrative that was presented because, as we know, Rio de Janeiro is an area where there is high crime. So to talk about being robbed in that city plays into the situation of crime there, and it also plays into a lot of these stereotypes about people of color. So people were inclined to accept this. And it turns out it was a complete lie. A complete lie. And now that this guy has been exposed as a liar, someone on the Olympics committee basically said, let's give these kids a break. They just came here to have fun. That's the attitude that is expressed when white people engage in bad conduct or even criminal conduct. They're always given the benefit of the doubt. They're always given a second chance. They're given a chance to redeem themselves. But when it comes to black people, there is no opportunity for redemption. When it comes to black people, they want to throw the book at black people. When it comes to charges or when it comes to consequences for actions. A black man selling cigarettes in front of a store, having the nerve to speak back to a police officer, people automatically assume that that brother deserved what came to him when he was arrested, grabbed, and choked to death by the police. They assume that this brother deserved to die simply for talking back to the police and for selling illegal cigarettes. You had a situation of Michael Brown. He gets involved in an incident at a store and allegedly takes some cigarillos and has a brief physical confrontation with a clerk at that store. For that, people assume that the worst of this guy. They assume that he deserved to die. The same is true for Corinne Gaines here in Baltimore. Because she spoke out, because she had the nerve to possess a gun, people assume that the worst of her. They assume that she got what she deserved. You had this example of affluenza, the case where that boy got so drunk, so white boy wasted that he killed several people and he got a slap on the wrist. He didn't have to do a day in jail for that because white people are given the benefit of the doubt in this society. due to white privilege. Black skin is criminalized, demonized, and dehumanized. Whereas white people, they're given all kinds of second chances. That's the reality of the world that we live in. I was reading an article, and I'll include links to all my sources for this video. But I was reading an article comparing Ryan Lochte's situation to Gabby Douglas's situation. People were um, just destroying this sister simply because she didn't place her hand on her heart during the playing of the national anthem. Whereas when you had this guy that vandalized property, urinated on property, got into some physical altercation, some people in his group got into some physical altercation, but people were talking about giving him a second chance. They're saying, don't worry about these just kids just trying to have fun, give them a break. That's the attitude that these people have. Whereas with Gabby Douglas, they were condemning her simply for not posing with her hand on her heart, calling her crabby Gabby because she didn't celebrate the way people thought she should when her teammates were competing. These are the double standards, and lying on people of color is nothing new because people assume the worst when it comes to people of color. And we know that Brazil is a place where there are a lot of black people, a lot of mixed people, biracial people, and it's a place where there is crime. So people are automatically inclined to assume the worst. And the same is true here in America. They assume the worst about black people. That's why these lies that these white people tell are so believable in the eyes of the mainstream media and just the American populace in general. You had an example of many examples of white people lying on black people. And I'll include an article to a story that I came across citing like 10 egregious examples of white people lying on black people. You have the situation in Boston in 1989 when this white man named Charles Stewart lied and said that a black man had mugged him and his wife and killed his wife. It turns out that Charles Stewart killed his own wife and made up this ridiculous story. You have the story of Susan Smith in 1994, who claimed that her kids were kidnapped by some black man. It turns out that her kids were not kidnapped. It turns out that she deliberately allowed her car to go into water and she drowned her children, her two young sons. But she wanted to cover that crime up by blaming a black man. And in that situation in Boston, that situation is important because of that man's lie, the Boston police were rounding up hundreds of black men because of a lie. You have all these examples, many examples of white people lying on black people, and black people end up suffering because of it, whether they're being harassed by being stopped by the police or just their reputation. Like in Brazil, I mean, this whole false story was automatically believed by the mainstream media, by people like Matt Lauer. You know, they were talking about how there's so much crime and there's, no surprise essentially that something like this would happen. This is just another example of the kind of racism that exists, not just in America, but on a global scale. You know, that people are automatically inclined to believe the worst about black people or people of color, automatically inclined to be harsh when black people do something wrong, and merciless when black people do something wrong. But when a white person does something wrong, all is forgiven. They're given second chances. They're given a chance for redemption. They're given a chance to reform. And this is also reflected in just the criminal justice system, period. How we have black people being sentenced more harshly by the courts. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. So tell me what you think about this situation. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.